In 2 sentences, Smosh sums up the phenomenon that is Dark Souls to a T.
In a world where new games are as easy as you want them to be, one franchise dares to return to gaming's roots. It's frustrating, impossible to control, weird-ass Japanese roots.
Deeply cemented in Japanese thematics and style, with a steep learning curve that doesn't help to curb frustration, Dark Souls has become the armor-clad poster child for modern hardcore gaming.
I hate Sen's Fortress.
While it's easy to marvel at the gigantic dragon as it comes down to crush the helms of countless little knights, it begs a few questions. How exactly did this beast gain such power? How do people react to it? Will other dragons follow it? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's take a closer look at the dragon that is Dark Souls. It's fair to say that the franchise has more than made a name for itself in the gaming industry. The game sold 2.37 million copies worldwide within 2 years of release. The PC version itself was the second most played game on Windows systems based on unique users in 2012. In its home nation of Japan, the PS4 version of Dark Souls 3 was the second highest selling game within 2 weeks of its launch, bested only by the 3DS release Dragon Quest Monsters Joker 3, and followed closely by Sega's Hatsune Miku Project Diva X. To someone of a Western background, this might seem odd that a 3DS game that wasn't Pokemon beat out a PS4 release. But to the Japanese, this would be easily predicted, as console ownership outside of mobile consoles such as the 3DS and PSP is extremely low by comparison with the West. This might also be influenced by Japan's continued love for arcade gaming, something which people from countries like America and Australia have long since left behind. Challenge is a part of every game, but for a long time these challenges had been slowly subsiding as companies tried to appeal to mass markets, filling the mainstream market with games that held your hand through every little step. That was until September the 22nd, 2011. After the release of Dark Souls, created by Japanese studio From Software, punishing games experienced a huge return to popularity. Games such as Amnesia, The Dark Descent, and Super Meat Boy did exist before it, and they were very much challenging in their own ways. These were considered indie or niche games that had relatively small fanbases, with 200k units and 140k units sold in the first 2 to 4 months after release respectively. But they were gaining traction. After Dark Souls launched, these games experienced a significant boost in popularity, and the hype train has been moving forward ever since. So what's so Japanese about Dark Souls? And why does its effect on global markets matter? The Dark Souls franchise, while being starkly different from its competition, borrows heavily from existing tropes, particularly those in JRPGs, Japanese role-playing games. For instance, the massively disproportionate weaponry, particularly the stronger weapons, the monsters which dwarf the player character, forcing them to exploit weak points, as well as a fascination with Western Gothic fantasy and architecture. To those of us that watch anime, all of this should sound eerily familiar. If not, look up a screenshot from Attack on Titan and you'll get the picture. Sneaky pun is sneaky. Parallels of these tropes can be drawn to another game, which gained renewed life and popularity after Dark Souls' release, Devil May Cry 4. Owned by Capcom, another Japanese company, Devil May Cry 4 was also one of the top-selling games in Japan, though its style was more of a hack-and-slash brawler than a typical JRPG. It sold 2 million copies worldwide within 2 months of release, with an extra 320,000 over the following financial year. These figures breached 3 million by August 2014, showing that the game had a steady rate of sales as opposed to a decline, in the same period that Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 were released into the gaming market. With the release of the Special Edition in 2015, Capcom's revenue for that financial year increased by 100%. Talk about a return to form. The main difference between the two games in terms of difficulty is that Dark Souls has only one level, which the player must acclimate it to, whereas Devil May Cry 4 has manually choosable options, though the default difficulty for the game is widely considered to be pretty brutal. The hardest difficulty very much earning the right to claim that you must be a legendary Dark Knight to complete it, as we found out the hard way.
Yeah, I failed this. These things don't die. They're actually really hard to kill. They don't do anything, but they're really hard to kill.